It's safe to say that airfare is rising in 2025. From airlines not having enough resources, to supply and demand, to the implications of the Southwest Airlines fare changes, we're going to dive into all of what you need to know about these airfare changes in 2025. With that being said, let's go ahead and get started, everybody. It's no secret that airfare is rising in 2025, everybody. We're going to talk about all the factors I have listed here and what it means to the aviation industry and really just to the consumer in general. While it's unfortunate to us buying the tickets, it is really important to establish why this is happening, and I have various articles here along with just a variety of research, and yeah, it's certainly interesting to think about all these changes. We'll start here with the travelweekly.com article and get into some details that they talk about along with some other articles and additional information to go throughout. So I hope all of you are excited for this. Let's go ahead and start here with the big picture. So first and foremost, domestic flyers are likely going to be paying higher fares here in 2025 relative to 2024 prices. To paraphrase this article, it goes into a bunch of information along with some data statistics regarding the exact implications of why the airfare is rising, particularly over the year-to-year dates. 8% airfare increases for December of 2024, which is crazy to think about. And talking about the round trip prices, that's up over 4% with a $561 average ticket price, which is a really significant price there, thinking about all the factors combined. There's also this app called Hopper, which has various price matrix that they used, and they were able to evaluate that the prices are about 12% higher than what they were in January of 2024 for this first month here of 2025. It is predicting some very interesting statistics though for the future months here. As you can see here, it shows that May will likely be nearly 20% higher than May of 2024, which is really interesting to see the spike of travel considering that many schools are still in session and many family vacations are still not taking place during this time. But really, for the reasons that we talked about, this is what we're seeing, and that's pretty much what the rest of the article talks about. This article goes into various detail, particularly citing supply and demand, really the main function here of why these prices are increasing, and also the limited capacity. So it talks about only a 0.7% increase in capacity for domestic travel this month compared to January 2024. And a major portion of this, and we'll talk more about it later for one particular airline, is caused by reductions from Southwest, Spirit, JetBlue, and a few others. Particularly, Southwest Airlines has substantially reduced their schedules for January and February of 2025, and this is worth citing as obviously that is a huge capacity drop. But you can see here it does talk about domestic growth rising by 5% by June of 2025 here for the year-over-year information, so that's definitely important to note as well. It also goes into citing some aircraft delivery delays, which is definitely important, especially for the Boeing issues and a couple of carriers. I'm sure United would really like to expand even more, and then obviously this is a huge impact on Southwest as well, to new destinations and additional routes. But due to the sustained delivery issues, we are not seeing those deliveries happening, and as a result, they're limited in the routes and the new destinations that they can add. It also gets into additional details about the Spirit Chapter 11 bankruptcy, and this is certainly important to talk about because they are flying 16% less capacity to try to regain profit, or obviously, let's just say get out of bankruptcy at this point. So that is a huge impact to what we're seeing here with the capacity. But even with all this going on, we're still in positive figures, which is pretty surprising. But obviously, as a result, the prices are going to go up because of this. However, that being said, one major note that we will make throughout this video is that international flying is where the deals may be. As you can see here, it particularly talks about Asia flights, but really the Asia and Europe, you can see that international airfare is down 4% compared to a year ago today, which is really important as you can find really good international airfares as these companies have been able to catch up with their international wide-body deliveries, which has definitely been a huge aspect of the industry lately, has been all the market share for these international flights. Another particular example is that United Airlines showed that they had 30% more passengers traveling to Europe this past winter in the holiday season compared to what they did in the past years, which is really impressive to see. And this will continue to bring more additional competition, more new international routes, and better deals to come over the future. The next article, as you can see here, it talks about airfares soaring 20%. It uses similar data, including that Hopper information that I talked about previously. 19% can be cited here, and it talks about airfares increasing from December 24, they're 4%, which obviously kind of is a byproduct there of the various holiday seasons. But once again, it's still impressive to see. It also talks about just once again the function of supply and demand. It mentions 17 of the busiest, 17 of the 20 busiest days in flight travel history were in 2024, which certainly tells the story when we're talking about these various airlines. Now, it is also worth noting that these airlines aren't losing money by doing this. Airlines like United and Delta have certainly been making really good money. You can see some particular per share numbers here for United, and Delta's also going to have a really strong go at it. However, it is interesting to see that American Airlines, which has historically struggled over the last several years and even dating back to pre-pandemic times, is looking to have possibly a really good 2025 and possibly more earnings that could even be in the profitability sector, which is really unprecedented considering their current situation. But really, this quote tells the story here. It's purely a function of supply and demand for the seats out there. And this is certainly really important to consider behind these price increases. Now, it is good to see that we're not particularly, detrimental in this department either. As you can see here, airfare technically is only about 4% over 2023 numbers. So it is still fairly normal, but we do have to keep in mind that it's not just the actual number statistics here. There's more to the story, because you would think that only a 0.7 increase for capacity in January of 25 would be bad, but Spirit, for example, is 16% of their seats are gone. So obviously major numbers are being skewed there. We also need to talk about a huge factor that we haven't really got completely into yet, and that's the Southwest Airlines sales. So it's worth noting that Southwest Airlines historically has done really good sales, especially off the pandemic, as you can see here under their previous management before they got invested with the Elliott investment firm. As you can see here, in fall of 2023, it was very routine, and this even went all the way on till really last fall, or the early part of the summer, I should say. So let's say Q2 of 24. $39 sales were very common on fixed rate prices. So you can see a few of these examples here, one for Halloween and just one for fall travel, which is really great to see. And these provide really good prices for many customers, as so many people fly on Southwest Airlines. Now, as you can see here at the bottom, we talk about the fall 2024 sales, and now they're $69 fixed rate sales, which is their normal principle. There's even a sale going on right now that I'm going to show you in the implications of what this means. Now, here's kind of the analysis of this. 40% up year to date. So contributing factors, like I said, include the January to February schedule and the pressure to make money. So will this new normal be the new normal when the new schedule returns? It's very likely, and I'm going to show you why here in just a moment. But I do want to note that this philosophy can work in some elements, particularly on their peak days, Thursday, Friday, Sundays, and Mondays. However, their flights are the profit that those flights are going to make is going to be mitigated by all the money that they're going to lose doing this on Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Saturdays. What I would have done if I was Southwest is made an agreement with Elliott that we were going to do quite a few $39 and $49 sales during Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Saturdays, as they have historically done. And there's been different pieces to the puzzle of when and how they've done these sales, but that price is more likely to convert passengers on those days compared to these $69 base fares for every day of the week. Let's use some examples so we can gain a better understanding of what we're talking about here. So this is currently a sale for Tulsa to Dallas right now. It's going on for March 5. This was one of those $39 routes that you can get at any time pretty much in the previous years at that price point. There was even times where these fares were $19 on occasion a few years ago. Now, I know that was coming off the pandemic. We're encouraging people to travel, so on and so forth. However, you were even seeing $39 sales dating back to before the pandemic. Advertisements are all online, so on and so forth, if you like more citing and information regarding that. So here's what a current price graph has looked like, as the lowest price that this normally gets to now is the $69 range. Instead of Southwest doing a 40% sale earlier this month in January, they did a $49 fixed rate sale, which is pretty concerning if you're looking to have connecting itineraries and want a good price on them. I'm going to show you a video that I made in the fall that really cites a bunch of this information, but what's really important to note here is that this has been the only time this fare has dropped below that $69 threshold since I think like September, which is really interesting to think about this route going from $39 consistently to just one opportunity to get it for $49. Now, obviously, there's a bigger function here. Not everybody's going to be flying from Tulsa to Dallas, and certainly not everybody's going to be getting it at the $69 price point that we're going to see here. But let's go ahead and head over to another route that's really important to take a look at with competition as well. This is the Tulsa to Denver service on the same day. So as you can see here, this is a $98 graph, but I really want to highlight here, look at the graph and look at its fluctuation. It is only a $30 bracket here. So as you can see here, the lowest this ticket got was $88, and this ticket's mainly sat between $99 $99 and $120. And this is a pure function of Southwest not wanting to drop their prices anymore so that they could try to maximize revenue. Now, there's multiple ways that Southwest could do this. The video we're talking about here is about the price increases. We're not going to talk about the Southwest Airlines philosophy today. We will be talking about that in another video coming up once I have more sample information, so stay on the lookout for that. But anyway, case in point, Southwest Airlines, due to these price increases, has increased airfare across the entire network. Now, not every person obviously is going to be getting these tickets at $69 and $98. But it's huge to consider because instead of paying the $39 and the $49 we were paying at this time last year, now these passengers are paying $69 and $79, which heavily contributes to the price increase percentages that we're seeing. So it's really important, especially if you're trying to get fixed rate sales from Southwest, along with the fact of the other nonstop destinations that have increased for other carriers, which I'm going to show you a little bit more of next. It's important to think about this. Now I'm going to show you this. Now keep in mind this graph here and its current presence, and I'm going to show you here the previous graph. This is another graph from a video about cheap flights in 2024, back when Southwest was doing lower sales. You can see the fluctuation on this graph is over 66%. The other graph's not even 20%. These tickets got down to under $50 several times. United and Southwest both matched each other, and you can see those blocks here. This is really interesting to think about, that Southwest went from going all the way down to, you can see where it says 98, but that was the time of making the video. Right here is what I'm talking about. When these tickets got to their lowest point, under $50, it's crazy to think that we went from that to now we can't even get under $100. Now you can see that they're still rocking with the same principles they have previously, as these tickets mainly still, once again, stay between $90 and $120, but there hasn't been any opportunity. As you can see here, there are 3 dips where these tickets dropped below $50 compared to not dropping at all. Once again, let's go back to that graph. This looks deceiving, but once again, it got to $88 one time, which is crazy to think about these changes and what that implies for the future of Southwest Airlines. I also want to mention that flight times for most of these carriers has drastically changed as well regarding the time and when the price is on sale. As you can tell, it's like 6 o'clock in the morning or 7 o'clock at night for some of these. And obviously the more premium segments here, for example, this flight at 5 o'clock on United, I know that's kind of not completely to Southwest, but once again, you can see it's $179. So not only has the price increased across all flights, but only the better prices can only be found at really obscure times. Another example I'm going to show you here is this Tulsa to Orlando flight. I know I'm focusing heavily on one market, but I'm going to show you another market after this one. You can certainly see here where we're finding really interesting prices at $173. Now, once again, I don't have the graph exactly for this, I think, but I want to show you here. If you give me just a moment, I'm going to find where I showed off a Tulsa to Orlando example. And here we go with the Dallas once again. This was their previous sell normals. As you can see here in October, this was $59. This is about what it was, and this was pretty standard of the time. So that was very interesting to observe. I also showed off other various tickets for a couple of different destinations like Las Vegas to Denver, and we've seen some increases on those. Again, it just really depends on the time of year, so on and so forth. However, I do want to show you here if I can find it. Probably should have just screenshotted it at this point, but I know it's in here, so let me see. Not the multiplayer, come on, I apologize about this, everybody. Let me see if I can get this to properly function here. Let me see if I can pop that back out. Let's let this ad play. While that happens, I also want to show you this. This is the flight here from Tulsa to Atlanta, and this was another big one. I paid $100 for that ticket in 2024, and this year that same ticket went for on sale in this December sale. This was the Cyber Monday sale, $165. So it's crazy to think that the increase is just, once again, 40% year to date. Now, will Southwest be able to completely function with this model? I think they could if they charged this on Thursday, Friday, Sundays, and Mondays. But again, this is not the complete Southwest Airlines story. We'll get into that in a different video. That's not even the video that I wanted right there. I was trying to find the previous video. Let me see if I can get back to that one. Let me go ahead and pause this, and I'll go ahead and find what I'm looking for y'all. Okay, everybody, I found my example. It ended up being at the beginning, but as you can tell, $128 here on this sale, and you can just tell that the magnitude has certainly changed the landscape here, going from $128 to $175. So these prices continue to increase. I'm going to go ahead and show you a non-Tulsa market so you can see what I'm talking about here. And again, there's various implications to these applications that I'm going to show you here. But here, as you can tell, here's Nashville, for example. schedule and just some really crazy information. So first and foremost, I need to filter off the duration because this gets messed up without Frontier, and I thought it would keep it saved from when I did earlier, but I'm going to do duration time of under 6 hours. I think that's pretty fair here. But as you can tell, unless if you're going to do a long connection in Denver, the only way to get to Phoenix from Nashville is going to be connecting on Delta as the lowest prices. American and Southwest are keeping their prices super high because of how premium of a market this is, and this is not what we saw previously for several markets. Now, this exact one probably not, but once again, there were several markets here, and it really mattered in the year-to-date information about these prices rising because it's because of situations like this, and as a result, Delta's undercutting these carriers here in this particular situation, which is really fascinating to think about. You can go to Seattle for less than this on Alaska Airlines on a 5-hour flight, but Phoenix, for example, a hot market that you think you'd be able to get to at a little bit more of a reasonable price point, is unfeasible. And even Portland, for example, another market you would think would be tough to do, but it turns into being easy compared to Phoenix, for example, as it's a fraction. San Francisco is another good example here for United. They have some of these flights where they're charging $800. Now, once again, obviously there's only a few of those and they're a little obscure, but even still, if one person falls for that, that accounts for like 5 tickets. So once again, it's crazy thinking about the logistics and how all this falls into place. I mean, you can even go to Toronto for a fraction of price on Flair Airlines, which is crazy to think that, options like this exist relative to other situations we've talked about. Even Spirit offering better prices than nonstop Southwest flights from Nashville to Charleston. You can see here where they're undercutting them, and these previous Southwest sale prices, I'm sure, were a fraction of what you're seeing there. So this video definitely went into all the details on this. I certainly will be talking about the differences going forward with Southwest because they're a huge component of this, but overall, airfare continues to rise. We'll see what happens in the future. Personally, I think that, at some point, hopefully the airlines will be able to get some more planes, and as a result, the price will come down. United has been making some good efforts in some ways. You've seen them undercutting some of the other carriers on some flights, and we'll just see what happens. Same for American, but I'm eager to see what's next, and I hope all of you are as well. Let me know what you think in the comments below, but nevertheless, that'll do it for today's video, everybody. Thank you all so much for watching. I want to thank each and one of you for watching. My name's CM Aviation. Take it easy, everybody. Stay safe. Trust process deep. Love and love you do. My name's CM Aviation. I want to thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you all soon as CM Aviation is signing off.